My name is Hannah Wagonmaker, and I just wanted to make a little video today about what to do when you first get a diagnosis for an autoimmune disease. This could be any number of autoimmune diseases. A lot of the stuff that I will talk about on this channel and today applies to a broad spectrum of autoimmune diseases, and some people might say it applies to all of them. Experience-wise, I don't know how it feels to get a lupus diagnosis. I don't know how it feels to get an MS diagnosis. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I know how it feels to get that diagnosis, and it was hard. It was a big change in my life. So I thought I would encourage some folks by sharing some things that you can do to help you move forward with your life after finding out that there is something wrong with your immune system, that your body is attacking itself. It's kind of scary thinking about your body attacking itself, and I remember thinking that, like, I hate my body so much was my first thought. Like, why is it doing this to me? But it's important to think of our autoimmune system and our immune system in general as a Jenga tower. Or there are a whole lot of analogies I could use, but today I'm thinking about Jenga towers. You stack the Jenga tower, and you can take pieces out and build it taller and taller, but if you take a cornerstone piece, a weight-bearing piece, the whole Jenga tower falls down. When you get an autoimmune disease, the difference between you and a normal person is that you have genetics, and that's weight-bearing. So as soon as that weight-bearing piece is not in the right place, your whole tower falls down if all of the other pieces are moved too. So a normal person might be moving pieces that aren't bearing weight, like they eat gluten, or they have a stressful life, or they have exposure to chemicals or smoking, or they don't sleep enough. But a normal person with healthy genes, those aren't weight-bearing pieces. As soon as your genes have that little 25% weight-bearing piece, you pull it out, all of those other pieces suddenly matter. So I'm rambling, and I'm sorry, but I'll try to keep this as straightforward as possible. So the first advice I have for a person with an autoimmune diagnosis is to accept that your life is going to change. How much your life changed, it will depend on you. Maybe you don't want to change your lifestyle or your diet, and so you're going to decide to do medication. Maybe that's too much for you. I think you should consider it, but maybe your life won't change a lot, but medication will change your life. So it's important to accept that no matter what route you choose, things will change. It's okay to cry and let that grief of being a chronic disease-free person, let that grief go. You're losing some freedom here, because as soon as you have a disease, you feel like you have a label. I want you to make sure that your health does not define you. You are still a person outside of your autoimmune disease. And maybe you have other diseases too. Maybe you have other health problems. This applies to those too. Your health does not define who you are. Your happiness should be defined by something other than whether you're feeling good that day. So the happiest person with an autoimmune disease is not the healthiest person with an autoimmune disease. It is the person who has decided they don't have to get back to who they were before to be happy. You need to always be moving forward to who you're going to be. And who you're going to be is going to be someone who is working with their body to control an autoimmune disease. So the next thing I want to recommend before I move into anything else is take a look at the Paleo Mom. Dr. Sarah Valentine wrote this book, and I apologize, I had to re-record this section. I made a whole lot of mistakes in this section when I first recorded it, but later on in this video, in the sections I didn't re-record, I refer this to as the Paleo Autoimmune Protocol. This uses that. The book is called The Paleo Approach by Dr. Sarah Valentine. Highly recommend it. It's about 400 pages long, but there are lots and lots of pictures, so it's not like heavy reading 400 pages, and it will tell you a lot about your immune system. There are a lot of other books. I just started this one. I'd never heard of Amy Myers before. This is the Autoimmune Solution. So far, she is taking tons of work that Sarah Valentine is doing. I haven't seen her quite build on it yet, but that's what I'll notice is the work intertwines with each other, and Sarah Valentine, Dr. Valentine, has, I would say, the greatest volume of information that's accessible to an ordinary person. So yeah, take a look at that, and that will be really useful. I have at the end of the video a little scroll through of YouTube, some searches that can be useful, and there's a particular video that I'll link in the description that I really like. I think I referenced that later in the video too. So anyway, moving on. Next thing to do is that I recommend that you do when you have your diagnosis is find out how much the doctor that gave you your diagnosis is willing to work with your questions and your intention to manage your disease differently. Your condition is your condition, not the doctor's. And so if they are willing to assist you working with a different set of tools than they might be used to, that is a doctor that you're going to want on board with you. If you don't know what questions to ask them, I have some good ones to start with. For example, have they ever heard of the Paleo Autoimmune Protocol? Have they ever heard about its successes or its failures? The next question would be, how much can you help with regulating my immune system without medication? If they're not familiar with that, that'll be a good indicator of how much they know and how much they can help you. See if they have any references for functional medicine doctors in your area. They may not. Honestly, my diagnosing doctor did not. So I basically just had to walk away and look elsewhere. Chiropractors may have recommendations in that area, so definitely call them up and see who they know that works in functional medicine. Google typically will pull up some good responses too. But anyway, these questions will be a big part of how you decide what to do, because if your doctor doesn't know how to help your immune system regulate itself without medication, they're going to be very limited in the choices they have to help you get your disease into remission. So you don't necessarily have only two options on the table. You don't have just, okay, I completely don't use medication, or I only completely use medication. You can do a hybrid if you need to. If you are very, very sick, especially, you may want to start with medication and then start doing a lot of the regulatory autoimmune protocol things that I'm going to recommend on my channel. And keep your eyes open. I'll be posting videos as often as I can until I get a lot of them up here. I'm just starting out right now, so I thank you for your patience. Lost my train of thought. So once you've discussed things with your doctor, then the next thing you're going to want to do is consider the severity of your disease. If you are in a lot of pain, like I said, you're probably going to want to start with medications and move forward from there. But if you're just diagnosed because you have only the first onset of symptoms, like I've had rheumatoid arthritis for 6 years. If I had been diagnosed when I was 21, when I first had my symptoms, they were every 6 months. I would have been just fine, completely ignoring medication and starting off with regulation methods that do not require medication, like the autoimmune protocol and lifestyle changes and supplemental changes. I didn't get my diagnosis then. I didn't get my diagnosis until I was 24. But anyway, I thought I would mention that. But if your disease is in the early stages, you'll have a lot more space to work before you have to decide. Alright, so questions and decisions aside, I do have some specific recommendations that might help you start in the right direction with taking care of your body and your autoimmune system and regulating yourself independently of any medication. These are things that you can change that won't have nearly the consequences of a lot of decisions you have to make. For example, I recommend you stop gluten, corn, sugar, and soy as soon as possible. And I will be posting as many videos as I can and as much information I can about those things so that you understand why that's important. And if you are wondering why, go ahead and just type those into thepaleomom.com and you'll see a quick explanation for why those are exceptionally problematic. And my hope is that as soon as you stop those, you see what I mean, that your immune system can start to regulate itself. This is to really kickstart you on the right path. Even if you're doing medications, you can do this at the same time. The consequences are so low. The consequences, you don't get to eat everything you want. Maybe you'll be hungry. You'll soon find replacements. You'll start eating more sweet potatoes or maybe more white rice or plantains or any number of things to replace those calories that you need. I recommend you start a few things. This is a really personal thing for me. Some people haven't made these choices that I've made, so this one is particularly my recommendation. That it is backed by a lot of research, but I'm not a doctor. So what helped me is kelp powder. I buy it off of Amazon. It's pure kelp powder and it's got a lot of iodine in it. I only need about a 1/4 teaspoon to fill in my iodine because salt that is iodized has dextrose, which comes from corn in it. So I take sea salt and Himalayan pink salt and I take kelp to supplement that iodine, about a 4 teaspoon a day. And the next thing I strongly recommend is turmeric taken with food. 95% curcuminoids. There are a couple of brands on Amazon that are really pure. They come in microcrystalline cellulose capsules and it's just turmeric, curcumin, and a capsule. That's what you want to look for. My next recommendation that you start is vitamin D3. Most people don't take nearly enough vitamin D unless you live here in Texas like we do. You need 20,000 IUs a day, which for me is 4 of my 5,000 IU capsules, which are enormous capsules to begin with as far as most people are concerned, but it's not enough. So 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3 a day. If you're in a lot of pain, this is something I wouldn't recommend if you're not in a lot of pain. If you're having a lot of inflammatory pain and you just need relief, I strongly recommend something called SPM Active. I can post a description down below and a link to where you can get it. It's kind of expensive and I found it can be somewhat, your body can start to rely on it. It's not necessarily addictive. I think your body can get over that addiction rather quickly, maybe a week or two. It's not like prednisone that way. But SPM Active, they're called Specializing Pro Mediators. I'm blanking. I'll fix that down below. They are a derivative of omega-3s that is very anti-inflammatory. It helps to regulate your immune system. That's what we're going for. We want to regulate, not suppress. That is really important. We don't need to turn our immune system off. You need to turn it to attacking only invaders and not your tissues. We need to regulate. The last thing I recommend you start immediately is get a regular sleep schedule. Get 8 hours of sleep if you can. It's hard for me. I have 2 kids under 3. I regularly get about 7 hours of sleep. 7 hours has gotten me a lot farther than 4, so I'm thankful for that. It makes me feel a lot better than 4. Working on 8, but not going to get there for a while, I'm sure. If I missed anything, or if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm sure I missed a lot of things, but these are things that helped me, and I would have appreciated it if somebody had told me when I first got my diagnosis. I did several months on prednisone and azithromycin, which is a disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drug, and I really regretted it. The prednisone basically caused my disease to worsen. The azathioprine, I got pregnant while I was on it, and I was really worried because they told me it was safe, and I found out later it was dangerous during pregnancy or questionable during pregnancy. I'm not sure which is the more accurate description. And so yeah, I wish somebody had been there to tell me a few of these questions to ask my doctor and give you a few places to look. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments. I've got some links here about a helpful video, and it talks about immunology in the gut mucosa, and this one particularly excuse me, particularly relates to irritable bowel disease. But you'll notice if you take a look at some of the information in Dr. Ballantyne's Paleo Mom website and her book, the Paleo Autoimmune Protocol, you'll notice that a lot of the things that are happening in IBD are crossing over with autoimmune diseases. It's triggering that response when the pieces of the puzzle aren't fitting, or the cornerstones in the Jenga tower start to come out. Anyway, that's all I have for today, and I'm thinking of doing another introductory video where I tell more of my story, but I'm not sure if I'm quite ready for that, so I'll work on that soon, maybe take some notes. But thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I hope you all have a good day.